Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head back over to Northern Ireland once again. We're going to go to Belfast this time, and this is a brewery who I've seen around for the last year or two now actually I think, but I've just never got around to actually reviewing one of their beers, so it's been a long time coming, this review. So for this one we are going to go to Brewing Cooperative and we're going to have a look at one of their Imperial Stouts today. So this one is called Gift and it comes in at 8% ABV. Now on Rate Beer, this one had a rating of 92 I think it was overall, but 41 within the Imperial Stout category. So that tells you it should be quite a nice beer, but it will be kind of quirky within that Imperial Stout category. As I always say though, you shouldn't take Rate Beer as the gospel of beer and ratings and things like this, because you know there are a few kind of vested interests and stuff in it, but it does give you a fairly decent idea of how good your beer's going to be. But I've heard very good things about this brewery, and like I've always said, it is really cool that we're finally getting some of these Northern Irish and Republic of Irish beers over here in Scotland now, because for a very long time you just couldn't get any Irish beer at all. So definitely looking forward to this one, and I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that hopefully I can do from Brewing Cooperative. This is the very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Irish beers that I've reviewed for you before. I do put the Republic and the Northern Irish ones together, of course, for that. But as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys, and the support that you give the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Boundary Brewing then. So Boundary Brewing Cooperative are based in Belfast in Northern Ireland, and they were founded by Matthew Dick back in 2014. So he was doing his PhD at the time, and he was quite an avid home brewer, but he decided to put his PhD on hold and crowdfund his own brewery, which turned out really quite successfully for him. So after 5 years of living in the US while working for brewing technology company Brewbot, and he also done numerous trips to Belgium as well, he noticed a big gap in the market for craft beer in Northern Ireland. So this was where he really decided to actually go for it himself. So he started a community share program rather than using the likes of GoFundMe and Kickstarter and all these sorts of things on the web. He did this through a community share program to actually set an investment target for his brewery. Very quickly he raised £70,000, and he thought people were only going to invest maybe £100 at a time, but there was a lot of people investing, and his average investment was actually around £250 per person. So he revised the target, set it to £100,000, and he actually made that, which was pretty cool actually. But they started brewing in February of 2015, and they've been growing very steadily ever since. So the brewery are now based in the Portview Trade Centre in East Belfast. It's a little bit to the south of the George Best City Airport as well, but it's fairly close to the centre of the city by the looks of the map. But these guys are a brewery. They're probably one of the most readily available kind of Irish craft beers that you can find these days. I mean, we get quite a few different breweries from the Republic, and I think from Northern Ireland we get 2 or 3 over here in Scotland as well, so it just depends. But for a very long time we weren't getting any Irish beers of any description over in the bottle shops in Glasgow and Edinburgh and stuff like that, so it is quite cool that we're finally starting to get some of these beers. But from what I understand, the brewery is run by both Matt and the shareholders and things. They take an active role in what actually goes on at the company, so a really interesting business model, something a little bit different of course, but like I said, the main point is that it is cool to see that the kind of craft beer bug is spreading over to Belfast and things. So yeah, so as always, well, that's all you need to know about the brewery. I hope you've enjoyed that, and if you want to learn a little bit more, have a look at the brewery website, which you'll find in the description below, and hopefully we can return to this brewery in the fairly near future. But anyway, let's get on to the tasting of this beer itself. Now from what I understand, there has been a few different versions of this beer. On Rate Beer it was actually listed as being 8.7%, but on here they have it listed as 8.0%, and it's best before December 2018. It's got a little bit of a poem on the side here. I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this. Boundary, of course, have these kind of almost, I don't know, it reminds me a little bit of Charles Rennie Mackintosh or something like that. This kind of artwork style that they have, but I really like that kind of stone art thing that they've put on the label there. That's really nice. It's a plain bottle cap on this one. Actually, it would be cool if they just did a sort of bee or something on that. I think I've seen a couple of their bottles that just have like a white bee on them at the top, which is kind of cool. But it just says on the side, this is a stout, but it's got a little poem on the side here as well. So, "'Tis the gift to be gentle with yourself at the end of a day when you've given, of a day when you've spent to recreate, to breathe, and to rest, and to treat your own self as your own welcome guest. When hospitality's in place, you'll be kinder to yourself and less inclined to haste. You'll turn and you'll fail and you'll find and you'll say, welcome to the night and welcome to the day. Padraig Ó Tuama. With kind permission of the Canterbury Press." So gift readings from the Book of Exile 2012. So yeah, quite nice that one, nice wee poem. But yeah, nicely presented beer this one. As I said, an 8% Imperial Stout. On Rate Beer this got a 92 overall, and I think on Untappd it was into the 4 stars, so it should be quite a nice beer. So yeah, as you can see, a nice smoky opening then, and we'll get it out and into the glass. Looking forward to this. My very first beer from Boundary Brewing Company, but these ones of course do come highly recommended from a number of shops. Incidentally, I got this one at the corner shop in Cross Gates, just next to Dunfermline in Fife. There's a really nice guy in there, Robert, who's just starting up selling craft beer, and he's got a few of these beers from Boundary, but he's really into his stouts and things like that. So I'll put the link to his Facebook page in the description below, and if you're watching from the Edinburgh area or from the Fife area in Scotland, do make sure you go in and give him some of your patronage, because he's a very, very nice guy. So yeah, as you can see with this one, it's poured a really nice dark ebony rosewood colour there. You can see there's a solid finger and a half of a frothy, quite dark beigey tan head on this one, and it smells lovely and chocolatey. You're getting a lot of this nice kind of big oily chocolatey character coming out of this one just as you move it around. We'll take a closer look at that in a minute though. If I hold it up to the light, it does have a very slight ruby edge to it, but I think it's definitely fair to say this is a really dark ebony rosewood coloured beer. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head. There's 1 or 2 tiny little bits of sediment visible at the bottom, but overall it looks very nice, and it is kind of what you'd expect of an Imperial Stout. At 8% though, it is on the lighter end of that Imperial Stout category. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. Yeah, that smells quite nice actually. Yeah. So for me, it's leaning more towards the kind of light milky chocolate side of things. You can get a little bit of a roasted black malt just underpinning it, but to me this beer really is more sweet than anything else. There's a good bit of brown sugar in there. You can pick up some of these nice kind of caramel, treacle, molasses sort of things. But when you sugar it up a bit more, and once your nose actually adjusts to it a little bit, you start to get a little bit more of these roasted black malts that are just kind of acting as the backbone of the beer. But that's quite nice. I have to say they've got a nice aroma going on with this one. There's a wee bit of licorice coming out of this as well. You can definitely pick up that kind of distinctive licorice note in this beer. But yeah, definitely some chocolate, kind of darker chocolate coming out as well, some cocoa, a lot of brown sugars, quite dark toasted brown sugars I would say, a little bit of licorice, definitely some kind of earthy hop as well, which is kind of common for this style. Of course they're maybe using Fugels or Kent Goldings or something like that. The English hops always go really well in these nice Imperial Stouts, but then again this one does smell a bit sweeter, so it could be like Columbus or Centennial or something like that they're using in this beer. Those, of course, those American hops do work well in these nice kind of these nice Imperial Stouts, and they are a brewery that focus more on Belgian beers and American beers when you read the website. But yeah, really nice smelling beer. As I always say, just take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of this one, or to enjoy the aroma of your beers before you actually taste them. That's always half the experience when it comes to craft beer and whiskey and sake and things like this. But yeah, it's really nice. Once your nose adjusts to it, you start to get a little bit more red fruity character coming out of this one. There's a sort of candied red fruit ester, but I'm getting quite a bit of figs and maybe just a little bit of a kind of raisiny note from this one. There's maybe a wee bit of a kind of woody, nutty sort of undertone coming out of it as well. But like I say, just take a little bit of time to enjoy that. But it's actually quite a sweet, fruity smelling Imperial Stout once your nose starts to adjust to it. It does get a little bit more fruity than it is initially, so just take a little bit of time and mull it over like I always say. But let's get stuck into this one then. So this one is the Gift from Boundary Brewing Cooperative in Belfast over in Northern Ireland. My first taste of a beer from this brewery. Slàinte. That's really interesting. First off, this is a nice beer, and you will notice that right away with it. You can tell that it's well done. The way the flavour comes across in this though is a little bit different to other things that I've had. It comes off quite quickly, but then it comes in quite sweetly, quite quickly. But then it just fades away, and you start to get a lot of this nice roasty bitter black malt actually. That's nice. It's a really interesting mouthfeel as well. It feels quite oily, but it's a really light oily mouthfeel, this one. It's a really wet oily. It kind of meets you somewhere in the middle, to be honest with you. This is a really interesting beer, just how it does its thing. But I tell you something, you can tell that this is a well-crafted beer, and on the basis of this is the very first beer I've tried from these guys, like I was saying, but on the basis of this, I would be interested to try some of their IPAs and things like that, just to see how they come across. But that's really nice. It's got a really quite nice juicy red fruity character to it as well. But there's a lot of nice sweetness in the malt base there. So let's examine this a little bit more closely then. So in the middle of your palate you can feel this nice roasted black malty backbone just kind of underpinning this beer. And as the flavour progresses, it comes in initially, and then that black malt just starts to push its way out a little bit more. This Imperial Stout for me leans towards the roasty kind of toasted black malt side of things rather than anything else. It's not one of the sweeter Imperial Stouts you're going to come across. But it's sweet initially. I mean, with this one, you do get you can just feel the black malts underpinning the beer. But on top of that, you get some of the chocolate, and it leans more towards the dark chocolate side of things, but that fades away quite quickly, and it's that roasted black malt bitterness that's just pushing its way out. There's definitely some kind of brown sugars in there, but it's a kind of sweeter caramel initially, and it's quite different from the aroma in that regard. It smells like it's a darker treacle that's going to come out of this beer, but it's a lighter, kind of sweeter caramel that you do get out of it eventually. But it's just interesting how this all goes together. There is a wee bit of a licoricey flavour there, but I do think the flavour in this one is dominated by those kind of roasty black malts. It doesn't have quite the smoothness that you would expect from coffee beans and things like that. There maybe is a little bit of that in there, but it's definitely more of a kind of roasted, quite bitter black malt than having that dark kind of smooth bitterness that you expect of coffee beans. It's more of a malty bitterness this than a coffee bitterness. But yeah, initially with this, a lot of sweet chocolate, a good bit of those kind of syrupy brown sugars, and I think there is a good wee bit of licorice in there. It's just interesting because, like I say, it comes in and it's quite oily and quite sweet, then that just gives way and you get this roasted black bitter malty character just pushing its way out of the beer. When you move further into the aftertaste, there's maybe a little bit of a slightly spicy woody note coming out of the beer. You'll just feel that right in the middle of your tongue. There is a little bit of a slightly sweet area in the middle of your tongue where it's a little bit biscuity, and you've got a little bit of a kind of slightly spicy wood character in it as well. But that's a nice beer. There's no doubt in my mind like that. But I mean, you know, when you've tried about 1100 beers, you want things like this that are going to be a little bit different. You do want breweries to have their own traits and stuff like that. So I'm very interested to see if you had an IPA. I love the mouthfeel that this beer has. Of course, you don't really, unless you're having a black IPA, you don't want that black malt bitterness. But the actual feel of the liquid in this one is perfect for like a slightly higher IPA or a lower kind of strength double IPA. The mouthfeel that this one has is perfect for that. But this beer pulls off the kind of stout category when you consider that really quite nicely. But this is nice. If you get the chance to try this, I do recommend that you have a go at that. It's got a really just nice mouthfeel to it. On the hoppy side of things, in the back corners of the palate, it's a nice earthy bitterness. As you come further forward, it is quite bitter in the back corners of the palate, but then it just smooths out as you come a little bit further forward. It's a little bit grassy as you go round the front curve of the tongue as well. And I think there is some American hops in play here just because of the way the fruity character comes out in this one. So yeah, if you just go behind the front curve of the palate there, you'll feel that little oily bubble, and there's some nice red fruity notes coming out of the beer. It's quite a candied red fruit ester, but at the same time, it reminds me of these little Haribo heart-shaped sweets that you get in the Star Mix, but then as you go further forward, it's just a nice, it's got that nice figgy sweetness to it as well, which is really, really interesting, and that just comes out, it just comes out really nicely, and it suits the mouthfeel that this beer has. It's definitely an Imperial Stout with a lighter mouthfeel, but what it's going for, it does really, really quite well. I mean, this is a stout that in really hot weather you actually still could enjoy. It reminds me a little bit of the Dragon Stout that I had from Jamaica, and that was a really, really interesting beer, that one. I mean, you don't expect a stout beer, a sweet stout, to come from Jamaica. This one has that same mouthfeel to it in my experience, and it was hundreds of videos ago that I did that, but that's what this beer reminds me of. This one just leans a little bit more towards the roasty side of things. In the aftertaste, it's that roasted black malt that's kind of sitting there, some of the licorice and sort of chocolatey sweetness in the middle of the palate, and that earthy, hoppy character with just a little bit of the red fruit at the front. But I really like how this beer goes together. It certainly is something different. But if you like your Imperial Stouts to be a little bit lighter in the mouthfeel, and to be a little bit more leaning towards the roasty bitter side of things with a bit of red fruit, I think those are probably the distinctive characteristics of this beer. But basically a thumbs up to Boundary Brewing Company on this one. They are Boundary Brewing Cooperative. They've done a really nice job with this, and I certainly would want to try some of their other beers on the basis of this one. So yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, yeah, mid-bodied beer. Carbonation's quite smooth on this one. Like I said, it's quite an oily mouthfeel, this one, and it's a wetter oily mouthfeel that it has. The malt base, it leans more towards the bitter side of things rather than anything else. It's got a bit of a smoothness to the bitterness as well. There is a wee bit of sweet character there, but the bitterness really does kind of take care of that, or does kind of push that out to the side. The hops have a little bit of bitterness. It smooths out on the sides of the palate, but there is a good little bit of red, juicy, fruity character to this beer. But like I said, overall it's a really strong effort from Boundary Brewing Company, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this beer again, but on the basis of this I would want to try some of their IPAs and something like that. They've done a really nice job of this, and it is cool to see some interesting craft beers coming out of the Belfast area. So yeah, if you get the chance to try this one, I do recommend that you take a look at this brewery. But yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do make sure you check out all my usual social media stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below, and let me know what your favourite beers are from Boundary Brewing Cooperative, of course, and hopefully I can review some of those for you. And do let me know about some of the other beers and breweries from Northern Ireland and from the Republic that I might not have heard of, because we are only starting to get some of these beers over here these days, but there is a really good standard over there in Ireland from what I understand. So yeah, the gift from Boundary Brewing Cooperative in Belfast in Northern Ireland, a really interesting Imperial Stout with a lovely mouthfeel and things like that. I really do like the oily character that this one has. But make sure you check out this beer, and until the next time it's landed just now, I'll catch you guys very soon with some more beer reviews. Cheers.